guys, I'm joined today by Antares from Germany, all the way from Germany. We're here to talk about his CSA experiences and all of the work that he's now doing to fight against this. So Antares, would you like to sort of introduce yourself? How old are you? What do you do for work?
Hi, my name is Antares, and I am, as you said, I am from Germany. I was born in Germany. I was all over the place, all over the world. But I'm a student now, and for the past 20 years, I ran away from my inner child, from my past. I neglected my past, and recently it really hit hard on my life, and I struggled to find similar voices to mine online who would speak about it. And so I decided to step up as a male voice for childhood sexual abuse, because basically what I'm doing here is doing what I needed when I was younger. Hearing such a voice would have helped me in my darkest times. And so that's why I'm here now.
And we often find that male victims of CSA carry more shame with them than female victims, and they find it more difficult to speak out. So you truly are a shining light for many young survivors. So would you like to take us through your personal story and how it got you to here today?
So my abuser is my father. He abused me when I was a child, when I was helpless, and I was completely under his power, and that's his thing. I mean, he didn't do it for pleasure or for anything else but the power. And sadly, a father has a lot of power over his child. And sadly, there are a lot of narcissistic abusers out there who, from the outside, they look perfect. I mean, he was a banker. He made a 5-figure salary. He was the king of the party. He was charismatic, good looking, and everyone always said, "Oh, damn, you're so lucky. Like, you have a perfect family. You have this perfect father." But when the party was over and the guest would leave the house, then he would just like put down his mask and show me his demon and abuse me. And even after he stopped sexually abusing me, because I got older, he tried to kill me psychologically. He planted a lot of self-hate and doubts into my brain. And I had my first suicidal attempt when I was 14 years old because of such a father.
And do you remember how old you were when the abuse started?
So the abuse started when I was around 4 to 6 years old. When I was a minor, I would say my first experiences were before I got to school. Sadly, I have big time amnesia because I didn't even look that way for almost 20 years. And now it sort of feels like my inner child won't talk to me, because like his trust is broken so much. And just imagine your parents wouldn't speak to you for 20 years. You wouldn't go to them with your pain and your struggle. And I'm trying to rebuild this connection, but it's a challenging task.
So all of this healing that you've had to do, you feel pretty much like you've had to do it on your own, off of your own back, with no parental support. Your mother, what about your mother? Tell me about her.
Well, when you get into a relationship with such a narcissistic abusive person, you are under big influence. Like you cannot see the truth. It's like you're brainwashed 24/7. And so my mother couldn't give me the support, because my father also really abused her and mentally and brainwashed her in a way. She never saw the abuse because everything seemed so perfect.
Okay. And do you have any brothers and sisters, siblings?
Yes, I have several siblings.
And were they also victims of your father?
I don't know about, currently we only know that I am the only sibling who was sexually abused.
Okay. And when we spoke previously, you mentioned to me that it wasn't just your father that abused you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so as I said before, my father is narcissistic, and he gets a kick from the power, and therefore he did movies with me, and he just gave me to other men simply because he could, and so he trafficked me in a way. And
well, yeah, that's trafficking.
That's trafficking, yes.
Yeah, but he didn't do it for financial gain.
No, not at all. As I said before, he was a top manager at the bank. He made a 5-figure salary. It was purely for power, and I feel like a lot of people don't know this, and a lot of people don't look into certain families because they appear perfect. So I think it's really important to look this way, and to look even at those families who seem to have it all together.
Yeah. And what about your school life? Did you ever disclose anything to your teachers or your peers?
I mean, not directly. I was, to say the least, a problematic child. I was never good at school. I was rebellious. I was unfocused. My teachers always said I had ADD, and I wouldn't like myself as a student. Really, I wouldn't. I don't wish any teacher a student like me. And so I screamed for help in my way, but I could never say out loud what happened. I just pushed this away as far from me as possible, and I just acted out on different things. Like, I didn't even know why I wanted to kill myself when I was 14 years old. I just did it for fun, because it felt at least like something, and I was always so numb because of the abuse and because I neglected this abuse.
And at what age was it that the memories came back to you, and you realized why you had been acting out for so many years?
I mean, I got to therapy 2 years ago, and the memories really came back during the process of therapy. But I knew that my father was an abuser before that. Before I knew about my own sexual abuse, I knew that he'd done it to other females, like a babysitter, for example. And this alone caused a lot of havoc in my life, because who wants to be the son of an abusive person? Who wants to be the son of I can only say, a rapist? This hurt my ego in such a tremendous way that I turned into a narcissistic person. I had to build a new person, because I didn't want to be the son of an abuser. So I pretended to be someone else, and this caused a lot of havoc in my life. And I know that I had serious issues, and that's why I did go to therapy.
Right. So with your therapist, did they encourage you to reach out to the police about your father? Or did it ever cross your mind to
Yes.
get the police involved?
Yes. The problem is that our system, all over the world, the systems for sexual abuse are crooked, to say the least. It is extremely hard for survivors to be believed. I mean, in the end, we have to tell a judge or a policeman what happened, but he's not a psychologist. He doesn't know about amnesia, about dissociation, about all of those things. He just believes in facts, but it happened 20 years ago. Like, there are no facts here. There's just feelings. There's just the fact that I can't feel my body because of dissociation, but it's not enough in front of a jury, in front of a judge. And so I have to gather the information I needed before I can go to the police, before I even can think about taking him to court. And that's the problem. So many abusers run free, even after they get even after they get taken to the judge. It's not enough, never enough. Our system is not built to put perpetrators into jail. It's sad.
Yeah. And when was the last time that you spoke or saw your father?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't thought about this in a long time. I would say 2 years ago. I saw him on an incident, but it was not a planned meeting. Our last planned meeting was way earlier. But yeah, I stuck really long time with him, although I knew he was an abuser, because abuse does something weird to your brain. It just makes you shut off and dissociate and go away from this fact. Like, I neglected this for many years before I even had the courage to say, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore because of what happened.
Do you remember how you felt the last time that you saw him at that unplanned meeting?
At first, I was afraid because my inner child still remembers this evil person who has random rage attacks and which is like lash out, and it's like you cannot understand what he does in the next moment, and I have an irrational fear from him. But the last time I saw him was really beneficial for me, because the person he is now, he's way older now, doesn't fit anymore with the picture I have. He's old, he's not as strong, not as aggressive anymore. And that was the first time I could cry, because I allowed myself to cry, because I saw that he's not that strong. I can cry and still be stronger than him.
Right. Bless you. So you talk about a lot about inner child. Does that come from a spiritual place? Have you gone on to find your spirituality through healing?
Yes. So my first step on my path of healing was starting to journal. And shortly after, I started meditating. And to this day, I meditate. And it saved my life, to say the least. I never had a suicidal attempt since I'm journaling. And meditation just helps me to understand that I'm more than my thoughts. And I don't have to get crippled by my thoughts so much. And I can pull myself back into the current moment, because trauma always throws you back into the past. And so I would say I'm a spiritual human being. And so I believe in things like the inner child. And sometimes I can see and talk to my inner child in a way. Maybe this sounds crazy for some people, but
I'm very spiritual myself. So,
yeah.
With you talking about the inner child, it was actually a conversation I've been having with my friends recently. We've all got, there's a lot of people with inner child work to do, and I have some myself as well. So it just intrigued me that you were talking about the inner child. And I love that you found your spirituality, and meditation really, really is such a powerful thing that people very much underestimate. The power of being present and breathing. So I'm really glad that you found that path. And who helped you find that path, or was that something that you just came across on your own?
Honestly, I never tried meditation, because my father was really into meditation and preached that a lot. And at first I had my problems to start meditating, because it was a kind of his thing. But
you associated it with him.
It's already enough that I'm his son. Like I identify with the devil already that much. I don't want to just like also grab his habits, but I just tried it out. I used Headspace, and Andy's voice just hit right into it, and I got hooked from the first minute, and I was just like, all right, this feels different. This feels powerful. This feels uplifting. Like let's try to keep this up, and it has been an amazing journey ever since.
And I'm really glad that it has taken you away from suicidal thoughts. Like that's how much power it has. Would you be able to like count on one hand like how many suicidal attempts that you had, or was there too many to
On one hand, no.
No.
No. Sadly I have a lot of amnesia, but I remember at least 6 times I tried to 6 times I tried to take my own life, to end things. And as I said before, it was the first time I was with 14 years old. I was out with some friends drinking, and I was just going onto the street, and I was just running into cars like a mad bull, and just like dodging them in the last second. I just try to kill myself for fun. Or I just crossed the street without checking left or right. If a car's incoming, I just didn't give any care anymore about myself.
Wow. And now you're in a place where you realize that you are an amazing person, I hope.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So when you said about running away,
Mm-hmm.
where did you run to? And how old were you, if you remember when you ran?
Running away is, I ran away in different ways. When I was younger, I ran away into like online video games, drugs. I mean, I started drinking. I had my first drink when I was 12. Sadly,
a lot of escapism there,
a lot of
in
escapism.
any which way you can.
Yeah. And later on, I spent a lot of time with like friends outside, and I nights when I couldn't sleep, I would just like go out the house and just like walk and doing such things. And I stayed with my girlfriend at that time, then for like 1 year, and had a tiny apartment. We had like 12 square meters, which was nothing. But it was better than being at home, being at the place where I was abused and I was damaged so badly.
And going on to relationships now, like, do you see like a massive difference in your relationships with your friends? I don't know if you currently have a girlfriend, but the way that you're able to connect with other people, has that changed a lot since you've
it has changed a lot. As I said before, I was narcissistic. In order to survive, I had to become narcissistic, because narcissism allows us in a way to deal with these strong emotions, or like not to deal with them at all. You just like cut yourself off from all of your emotions. But sadly, when you sell pain and struggle and fear, you also sell happiness and the capability of loving people. And I was just incapable of loving people and to receive love. So my relationships with friends and family and girlfriends, really it changed a lot. And it's a toxic masculinity. I feel like a lot of men are struggling with like tendencies of narcissism and not being able to let sadness or even love get to them, and so I really encourage you, no matter how bad the feelings are inside, being able to love is worth it. Just overweights the badness, the bad stuff.
That's amazing. That rings very true, because there is so many broken people out there, and that go on just to project their feelings and their trauma onto other people. So, to take a moment and to step back and realize, wow, like I'm hurting other people through my pain. It's a very powerful thing to do, and we've all got work to do within ourselves, like I said, with the inner child. And I just hope that your message today is really going to sort of open a lot of people's eyes to then go and whether they start meditating to deal with some of their trauma. But you're also doing a lot online to advocate. Tell us a little bit about your mission online.
So I started writing a blog, and at first I had like 2 or 3 readers, and then a woman reached out to me, and she said, hey, my husband killed himself because of childhood abuse and trauma. And it didn't really get to me. And I sat there in front of my PC, and I was just like, some words in a blog, which like 5 people read, it will not change anything. And that's when I started an Instagram. I started to show my face, and I just stepped up my game. I came onto podcasts because I know that there are millions of men and women out there struggling. Like every 40 seconds, a person dies because of suicide. That's like one Instagram reel.
Yeah.
This is huge. And I just sat there and I was just like, I have to do something about this. Like, if it's just only for myself, like I needed this when I was younger, so I want to give this to someone. And if I could change one life, that would be more than enough.
That's amazing. Really is amazing. And you should really be so proud of yourself from what you've told me today, from where you've come from, to where you are now. It's such an amazing journey already. And like we said, there's just so many men suffering in silence. And we're not saying that they have to step up and show their face and talk about their experiences, but they need to know that they're not alone, and that there is people that they can reach out to, people like yourself and Ryan Gadsby as well, who's another CSA survivor and advocate. We want people to know that you can reach out to people like Antares and talk to him as a safe place, because if you can't go to your family, you can't go to your friends because you couldn't go to your family because your family was the abusers. So so it's nice that for people to know that they do have somewhere to go. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Good question, really good question. So right now I'm studying and I'm hustling in my day job. And like my blog, my Instagram, all of this stuff gets like 1 or 2 hours a day, maximum 3 hours a day. And I wish I could just like spend more time doing this, spend more time on podcasts, speaking about this, like shake people awake, because this is an urgent problem. And I see myself doing this full time. I enjoy writing. I enjoy speaking about this. No matter how hard it is to speak about it, I feel like we need to speak about this. We need to speak about abuse, because the silence only protects the abusers. Our system is so badly because we hardly ever speak about. And I want people to know that you can not only speak about your own abuse, but you can ask questions. So often I get people that they feel like they can't talk to other survivors because they feel like they damage us in a way. But in our own boundaries, we all can answer the questions, because, as I said before, the silence does not protect us, but the abusers. So I wish I could spend more time with this. I'm working currently on getting more people to journal. I'm working on a journaling guide right now, and I just hope that more and more people would just like take some time for their mental health and just like write for 5 minutes a day. The world would be a different place, in my opinion, if people would do that.
And have you connected with many other survivors through your work? You have a lot of male survivors?
Yeah, a lot of male survivors. Actually, I connected with like 5 male survivors. And before that, I didn't even know that there was one outside. And I've always felt so alone. And I feel like it's really powerful for male survivors, but for survivors all over the place, from wherever you come from, whoever you are. It's really good to hear these voices, to hear similar stories, and to be like, oh yeah, I feel the same way. It just feels liberating. Yeah.
And how do you feel now about your father? Now you've done the work with yourself and your healing and everything. How do you see him and feel about him now compared to before you did the healing work? Do you still feel the same about him?
Differs a lot. Like my feelings are really, really all over the place. Like I have the child who needed his father to survive, and he cooperates with the father, even if that means he gets abused. And so this part of me is kind of protective for my father. And I have the more adult part who is furious about him and doesn't want to deal with him anymore, and wishes him no good thing. And I kind of have to get all of these things into one direction, into one persona. And it's really hard to see my father as the same person all the time. And so I have mixed feelings, but the majority is negative.
Yeah. So it's quite a confusing way to feel.
I feel like this for a lot of survivors and a lot of children of narcissistic parents, they feel the same, because sometimes the parents are nice and sometimes or most of the time they're not, and you just, like, as a kid, you don't understand, like, how could you?
And do you still have contact with your siblings?
Yes, I have contact with my siblings, yes.
Okay. And how do they feel? How did they feel when you disclosed, or when you started to talk about the abuse that you suffered from your father?
I mean, everyone I talked to always felt happy that I opened up to them, and they were always so compassionate and really nice about it. They had questions, they asked me questions, they were like, kind of like, can we ask you questions about this? But overall, I had not one single negative conversation about my own abuse.
Amazing. That was actually going to be my next question. I was going to ask, was there ever anybody that disbelieved you?
No, actually not. The only person who disbelieved me is myself, and I was the only person who ever had doubts about this, because I didn't want this to be real for obvious reasons. So talking about this really feels liberating. It's just like, it's owning your own story, and it feels like you don't have to hide your true self anymore. Within your own boundaries, talk about this with, like, even if it's just one person you trust. The trust has to be there, but then please talk about it.
Yeah. And do you want to go on to have children of your own?
Yes, I would like to have children.
That's good.
And I want to be a better father, and that's why I started therapy, because I could not live with the fact if I hurt my own children, or like continue hurting others. That's why I started therapy.
And when you were in that period of the narcissism, and when you were hurting others, were you more angry at yourself or your father at that point?
I did blame my father a lot throughout my life, and I feel like a lot of people do that. But at one point, I stopped blaming him, because I knew that it wouldn't change anything. Like, yeah, it is not my fault what happened, but it's my responsibility to deal with this now. Because if I go out there and hurt other people, then it is not the fault of my father, it's my own fault. There's no one left to blame but me. And blame just eats you alive. It just takes all your actions, and you just like become a negative person. So and of course, a lot of times I was angry at myself. I was frustrated with myself, and how could I do that? When I ever looked into the mirror, I hated myself, and then this hate would lead me to even more narcissistic behavior.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, where can anyone that's watching this YouTube video, where can they find you online? Where can they find your blog posts? Tell us about how we can support you through your journey. So
my blog is senseofpain.com, and my Instagram handle is thesenseofpain. Those are my two main platforms. I'm talking about everything. So just because you just mentioned support, I have a big issue, and this is Antares is not my real name. It is an alias I use online. And the problem is that my real name is still the name of my abuser. And I am currently trying to change my name, because every time I go to the bank, or every time I get called in class, shivers run down my spine, because I hear his name. And I don't feel like his son anymore, but on paper, I'm still his son. And I don't have anyone to marry yet, and I don't want to just marry for a different name. So I'm filling in the documents to change my name. But I'm a student. I just work 20 hours a day, and I need around 1K. So I will start a GoFundMe. I feel like, and because I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to hear his name every single day. And so this would be a huge support if people could just give $1 or something, so I can finally cut myself loose from this name.
Oh, that would be amazing, and I'd love to help support that as well, and try and make that a reality for you. Tell us again what it is that you study.
I study computer science, so I did psychology and business before, and then I switched over to computer science. And yeah.
So you'd like
Who
to,
knows?
so you would like to potentially pursue a career that way, or would you prefer to, you know, make your platform your main sort of career choice?
Yeah, I would love to make this my career. I would love to raise awareness and work with all organizations all over the world to build a better tomorrow for our children. But I didn't stop studying until now because I just started this two months ago, and this is kind of my plan B. If this doesn't work out, I still can have a good life. And I don't have to struggle through life. And I invested so much time into my degree. I don't want to waste that now.
Of course. Oh, I hope that you get all of the things, and you go all of the paces, and you achieve all of the things that you want to achieve, because you have become such an incredible young man, and you really do deserve to have everything out of life that you want. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your bravery on coming to speak with me today about your abuse. And I just want to send you a lot of love and a lot of light and lots of healing. And I really hope that you will keep in touch with me and let me know about every milestone in your journey. And as I said, I'm very much here to support you on that as well.
Thank you very much. From the bottom of my heart, my most heartfelt gratitude for your support and your time and everything you've done and everything you're doing here for people.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.